from West Virginia Public Broadcasting.
Support for the following is provided by the West Virginia Department of Education and West Virginia Public Broadcasting.
Hey everyone, it's Education Station, the show where we invite teachers from all across West Virginia to submit videos of themselves teaching their favorite lessons. In today's episode, we've got 3 exciting lessons about vocabulary, reading, and health. Well, hello and welcome back everyone. I'm your host, Alex Milanese, and we're kicking off today's episode with a fun vocabulary lesson. Miss Addair is going to read a story with a cooking theme, and she's going to help us with some vocabulary along the way. Let's check it out.
Hi everybody, my name is Alexis Addair and I'm a senior at the Nicholas County Career and Technical Center, and today we'll be doing a vocabulary lesson about cookies. Cooperate means, how about you add the chips while I stir? Patient means waiting and waiting for the cookies to be done. Proud means my chin is high and I sure do like the way my cookies turned out. Modest means you don't run around telling everyone you make the best cookies, even if you know it to be true. Respect means offering the very first cookie to your grandmother. Fair means you get a bite, I get a bite, you get a big bite, I get a big bite. Unfair means you get a bite and now I get the rest. Compassionate means, don't worry, it's okay, you can have part of my cookie. Greedy means taking all the cookies for myself. Generous means offering things to others. Pessimistic means, how awful, how absolutely dreadful, I only have half my cookie left. Optimistic means, this is great, I still have half my cookie left. Polite means, excuse me, can you please pass the cookies? Honest means, I have to tell you something, the butterfly didn't really take the cookie, I took the cookie. Courageous means, it was not easy for me to tell you that I took the cookie, but I took a deep breath and made the words come out. Envy means, I can't stop looking at your cookie out of the corner of my eye. It looks so much better than my cookie. Boy, I wish it were mine. Loyal means that even though the new person has a much bigger cookie, I'm sticking by you and your little cookies because you're my best friend. Open-minded means, I've never seen cookies like that before, but sure, I'll try one. Regret means, I really wish I didn't eat so many cookies. Content means, sitting on the steps, just you and me and a couple of cookies. Wise means, I used to know everything about cookies, but now I realize I know about one teeny chip's worth. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson about cookies. Thank you for watching.
Thanks, Miss Addair. All right, since we're already in the mood for some reading, let's take a look at another story. This one will be read by Miss Chapman, and the name of the book is Bear Says Thanks. Let's check it out.
Hello, my name is Christy Chapman and I am the Special Education Coordinator for Nicholas County Schools, and today I'm going to read to you Bear Says Thanks, and it's written by Karma Wilson and the pictures are by Jane Chapman, and I like this book because it has what I call a repeating phrase, so listen for it and then you can say it along with me when you hear me read it. Bear says thanks. Alone in his cave, Bear listens to the wind. He is bored, 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 and he misses his friends. I could make a big dinner, a feast I could share. But he looked through his cupboard, and the cupboard is bare. Look, there's nothing in there, a little cobweb. Then Mouse stops by with a huckleberry pie, and the bear says, thanks. Listen carefully because we're going to hear that phrase again. And the bear says thanks. You can help me read it. Bear says, "Goodness me, a delectable pie, but I have made nothing," he adds with a sigh. Then they hear hi-ho, and they see a big hare with a big batch of muffins at the door of his lair. A hare is like a big rabbit. Hare hurries in from the cold, rushing wind, and the bear says, "Thanks." "Of course," says Hare. Then he points to the door. "Here comes Badger. He's got even more." "Brr," says Badger as he tromps inside. He sets down his pole and he smiles real wide. "I'm back from a stroll at the old fishing hole." And the bear says, "Thanks." Then Gopher and Mole tunnel up from the ground. "We have warm honey nuts. Let's pass them around." There's a flap and a flitter and a flurry in the den when in flutters Owl with Raven and Wren. We have pears from the tree and herbs to brew tea. They have all kinds of things for their feast. And the bear says, "Wait." That's a different word. Oh no. Let's see what happens. Bear mutters and he stutters and he wears a big frown. Bear sighs and he moans and he plops himself down. "You have brought yummy treats. You are so nice to share. But me, I have nothing. My cupboards are bare." Mouse squeaks, "Don't fret. There's enough, dear bear. You don't need any food. You have stories to share." His friends hug him tight. It will be all right. And the bear says, "Thanks." They lay out their feast on a quilt on the ground, and the bear takes a seat while his friends gather round. In a cave in the woods, in a bright warm lair, the friends feel grateful for their good friend bear. They pass around platters, they tweet, and they chatter, and they all say thanks. The end.
Thanks, Miss Chapman. Now, as we all know, there are very few things as important as our health. Well, next up, Miss Sinisi is going to share an important lesson about something called seasonal affective disorder. And this is something that can really affect our health. So let's check it out.
Today's video is kind of topical. We wanted to do something that would be kind of going along with this time of the year in the winter. And what we're going to look at is seasonal affective disorder. Sometimes you'll see it referred to simply as SAD. That's the acronym, and that's what it stands for. When we look at the S, the seasonal means it just usually occurs typically during the winter months, and typically during up into the northern hemisphere of the globe. Affective means that those are mental disorders, and we have a disturbance of mood as the primary symptom. So the primary symptom of seasonal affective disorder will be something to do with your mood. And then disorder is just a disruption of the systemic functioning, and they mean that by the way your body functions. Homeostasis we've talked about before. It's a type of depression. And we're going to look at what causes seasonal affective disorder. It would be important to know. Your body has certain rhythms. They're called circadian rhythms. And the word circadian comes from the Latin meaning a day. So these rhythms are innate in your body. They're born with them. All living organisms have them. So a cat, a dog, a monkey, a cheetah, a starfish, they all have circadian rhythms. And they're recorded in the DNA of your cells. So they're integral to the person. These circadian rhythms that help to determine what your mood's going to be in your body. Almost every single gene in your genome, they turn off and on at different times of the day. And when we say off and on, that's not a bad thing. That just means that they're being transcribed and translated at different times of the day. So we're seeing their function on down the line. Brain chemicals and hormones, those also rise and fall at different times of the day. We've talked about brain chemicals before, those neurotransmitters, and we're going to look at a couple of them that are very germane to seasonal affective disorder in a little bit. Your internal clock within your body is synchronized to the rising and the setting of the sun. That's why it's bad for you to work midnight shifts. They say it takes 7 years off of your life if you work midnight shift for so long, because you're working in the dark and your body's not used to being awake in the dark and asleep in the light. It wants to be the other way around. So within your brain, there's a little tiny portion called the hypothalamus. And within the hypothalamus, there's a structure, and this is a big word, we're just going to call it the SPN, but it stands for the suprachiasmatic nucleus. Supra means above. Chiasm is like a little portion that's open, and nucleus, when we talk about nucleus in the brain, is different than the cell. That just means a bundle of neurons. So this is in the hypothalamus, the SPN, and it is connected to your optic nerve. And your optic nerve runs from your eye, the back of your eye, straight into your brain. So as you see and the light comes into your eyes, that message is traveling via the SPN to your brain. So in the morning, when you wake up, and the light gets into your eyes, it processes that and it sends by the body, and all of these things happen. So you wake up, you want to get light into your eyes immediately, especially outdoor light. And around here it's difficult to do this time of the year, but you want to get light because it will raise your body temperature, which falls when you sleep. It's going to raise your heart rate, which also goes down when you sleep. It's going to raise your blood pressure a little bit. And it delays the release of a hormone here called melatonin, which we're going to look at in a minute. And it raises cortisol levels, and that's another hormone that is trying to raise in your body, sort of an awake response. So as the body temperature goes up, your memory and your mind sharpen. So your body warms up and your memory sharpens. At this time of the day, typically around 11 or noon, we are at our cognitive best, and cognitive means mind. So if you're a student and you're in school, right around those hours you want to have your most difficult subjects like math or reading or something science that you need a sharp mind for. The amount of melatonin released is going to correlate with the amount of light or how long the day is. And this is when we get into the problem in the winter months, especially around here north of typically Atlanta, Georgia. In the winter, the amount of daylight decreases. So not so much now, but back in December, it was getting dark at 5 o'clock in the evening. Maybe the sun would rise at 7. So you had very few hours of daylight compared to in the summer. So you're not releasing that melatonin, right? You're releasing more of it, as we have that extended dark. And so it is then that we experience a longer release of this melatonin, and that melatonin is a sleep hormone, right? Chemical. And it's going to cause you to drop in energy. So typically people have less energy in the winter months because of this production of melatonin. In some people, that decreased amount of daylight can make those symptoms worse, and that's when we get seasonal affective disorder. The symptoms are sometimes disabling or debilitating fatigue. Fatigue is it's beyond tired. Usually you can't move. Draining and sudden lack of energy, and that energy can be both physical, where you can't do physical things, or your mental energy, your ability to think, your cognition, if we're talking about cognitive things. A lot of people experience a withdrawal from their life. This self, that's you, alienation, meaning you're taking yourself away from the activities that you typically like to do, hobbies that you have, or people that are in your life. That's a bad thing to do. Sometimes you start to lack focus with your memory and concentration. You can't concentrate or you can't remember things that you typically could remember. A lot of people have sleep difficulties, and they range from either end of the spectrum. You can have hypersomnia. Somnia means sleep. Hyper means above. So you're sleeping all the time, more than you normally would, which is also a symptom of depression. Or a lot of people have insomnia where they can't sleep at all. And so you wake up if you are sleeping and you just feel exhausted. It's like that sleep didn't help you at all. That you can become disheartened and deflated. You have feelings of self-loathing. Loathing means hate. And worthlessness and hopelessness, sort of that deep depressive state. A lot of people will experience joint and muscle pain, your neck, your back, your knees, hips, shoulders. You have headaches, stomach aches, and for no apparent reason. You just got sick and you don't really know why. You just don't feel well. You can become irritable. You have that emotional roller coaster. When the light comes out, you might feel better, and then as it gets dark, you dip down. You get agitated and restless. This also can have an effect on your weight and your appetite. You can have a significant weight loss where you can't eat. Some people, when they're depressed, don't eat. Some people, on the other hand, when they're depressed, eat a lot and they can gain a lot of weight. Many people say during the winter months, I eat a lot. They want to blame it on the holidays. That's when Thanksgiving is. That's when Christmas is. But it has a lot to do with the light in the day, and you want to eat more. And then sometimes people will crave carbohydrates, and that adds to the weight gain. Anxiety, you feel stressed or jittery, you can't cope with life, and this is a really bad one. If you have thoughts of suicide, we should always refer people to mental health professionals, or if you feel this way, you should be referred to a mental health professional. Recklessness, that causes risky behaviors, and risky behaviors can include substance abuse or just thrill-seeking behaviors. You drive your car too fast, you do some things like that. So what we're going to do after we looked at those 10 symptoms, we want to look at the chemicals responsible for this and then come back to how do we solve this? How do we get better? The first one we're going to look at is serotonin. And serotonin is a chemical in your brain, and what it does is it regulates your anxiety, your happiness, and your mood. If you have low levels of serotonin, then you have depression. That's associated with depression. This impacts every part of your body, from your emotions to your motor skills, right? Like writing or dancing or playing music or any of those things. It helps us with sleeping, eating, and digestion. You have a lot of serotonin in your gut, and so that helps with bowel movements and function. And so a lot of times people will give you antidepressants that affect serotonin levels, and people get sick at their stomach and they can't take them anymore. If you have high levels of serotonin, that can help you out. It's a good chemical in your brain. That can reduce the depression. It can regulate your anxiety. It can even help heal wounds in your body. It stimulates nausea, because then again you have a lot in your gut, and it helps you to maintain bone health. There are some foods that help you to increase your serotonin levels, like eggs, cheese, turkey, nuts, salmon, tofu, pineapples. Just some things that you could probably not even take any chemicals for. You could just eat them to help increase your serotonin levels. We have some natural serotonin boosters, and we talked about that exposure to bright light. They have little lights that you can buy on Amazon, and you can just sit in front of them for 15 to 20 minutes a day, and it helps to stimulate that serotonin production. Exercise also stimulates serotonin production, which helps your mood. A healthy diet and meditation. And so we want to know, does a healthy diet really work? So some people say, oh, that's just people making. They're just trying to get you to eat healthy food. So the common belief is that eating foods high in tryptophan will boost serotonin. And we hear a lot about tryptophan when we talk about turkey at Thanksgiving, right? People say that has tryptophan in it, it makes you sleepy. So foods high in protein, iron, what's called riboflavin, and vitamin B6, they contain large amounts of tryptophan, right? So foods that are high in this won't boost serotonin on their own, so you can cheat the system a little bit. How can we cheat the system? How can we boost our serotonin levels? Let's look. We're going to eat carbs, because carbs cause our body to release more insulin, and we've talked about insulin before, and this promotes what's called amino acid absorption, and tryptophan is an amino acid, and amino acids are what make proteins in your bodies, and that keeps that tryptophan in your blood, and when we mix that with the foods with carbs, we might get a serotonin boost, so that could be good. The other one we've talked a lot about is melatonin, and you hear people take this in gummies or pill forms to help them sleep. It's released by the pineal gland, and that's in your brain, and it's released at night. So a couple hours before you start to go to bed, normally, that melatonin starts to slowly be released in your system. And it's going to control your sleep and your wake cycles, and it's produced in response to when it gets dark. So if it gets dark at 5 o'clock, you're going to start producing that melatonin then. If it gets dark at 9 o'clock, you're going to start producing more melatonin closer to then. So that also helps us to time those circadian rhythms we talked about in the beginning of the video. Exposure to light at night can block melatonin production. That's why they say, don't get on your computer late at night, don't be on your phone late at night, don't watch TV late at night. Those things can hinder that production of melatonin because that bright light is stimulating the serotonin, and so then you can't go to sleep. and it helps you go to sleep but not stay asleep. A lot of people want to take those melatonin supplements that have insomnia thinking they're going to help them stay asleep. No, melatonin just helps you go to sleep. It will not help you stay asleep. And finally, we want to look at the treatments. So we have this disorder, and all of these bad things can happen to us, and we can't regulate it with diet, or we can't regulate it with exercise. What are a few other things we can do? I talked to you about light therapy. They have those light boxes that emit a very bright light that don't have any UV. The UV rays are the bad ones. They don't have those. So if you can sit there like 20 minutes a day, that light therapy really helps. We talked about cognition, how your brain functions. There's a thing called cognitive behavior therapy where you use your mind and your behaviors to kind of sync together. So they want you to focus on coping with winter. Don't go, oh, it's winter, I hate winter, I don't want to go outside, it's snowing. Try to focus on the good things. Maybe I could get a walk in. Maybe it's not going to last that long. I could go, skiing. I could go make a snowman. Shift the negative perspective in your mind. This would be something that is even a step farther. If you can't regulate it with the other things, sometimes you can take antidepressants. And these antidepressants are called SSRIs. That stands for selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. And that's just a big thing. We talked about serotonin and how that's good, right? We want that chemical to feel good and help anxiety. So here in the synapse, where that chemical is released, what these drugs do is to block the reuptake of it. So they leave it there. So it continues to cause that effect. Sort of, if you think about it, cocaine gives you the same effect. It stays in your synapse here and is not reuptake. Now, SSRIs just make you feel a little bit better, right? And we want to use a combination of those therapies to make us feel better. And so what we're thinking about here is we're going to put with this video maybe a solution that would be simple for you. We're going to plant some things that you can take care of during the winter, that grow, that will need your help, and we might have to use a little bit of a light box or something to help them grow because we have to have the photosynthesis. But we're going to put it on here, and if you're interested in that, we're going to show you step by step how you can do that, and we'll follow those and see how they grow and see how maybe something like that could improve your mood, because it's very important if you suffer from SAD that you do things to help improve your mood. So we would like to thank all of you very much for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up and share it with all of your friends. As the second part of our video, we're today going to plant some seeds that will later grow into plants and or trees to help people with their seasonal affective disorder. Not only does this planting help you, because sometimes it relieves stress and anxiety, but watching them grow and helping them grow and just seeing them might help you. The things that we need, just a few simple items. We have some black gold potting soil, and this is very good because it's composted, and you can see it has little twigs in it, little tiny rocks and different things that the plants would experience out in nature, and lots of good nitrogen for our nitrogen fixing plants. Of course, we need water. You always need water when you have plants. The four things that we're going to look at today are, the first of all is the elderberry, the American elderberry right here. And the seeds are very small, if you can see them in there. We're going to plant a few of those. They remind me of fruit fly larvae. And then this is the cold hardy palm tree seeds in the second one. And we put a couple examples out here so that you can see the seeds. The third one are kumquats, and right there are a couple of the kumquat seeds, sort of look like pumpkin seeds. And then finally here we have the citrus seeds of the yuzu tree, and that's a Japanese orange tree. And right there we're going to plant those two seeds. So we take our water and we come over, we're going to make a little hole. We put our potting soil in the cup. Just make a little tiny hole and put a couple of your grains of your kumquat seeds down into the potting soil. So we're going to open this up. Let's see if I can get a couple of them to come into the palm of my hand. Let's just do it. There we go. There's 5 or 6 of them in the palm of my hand. I'm going to place them down in that little hole, kind of stir them around in there, and put some soil over top of them, some potting soil. Let's put that one in there. That one fell. And then we're going to pour a little tiny bit of water. Not too much, you don't want to flood your plants out. But all we know when we go back and look at our photosynthesis video that we need water for plants to grow. The second one, our cold hardy palm tree seeds, we're going to do the same thing. Let's make a little bit of a wider hole here since we have larger seeds, and we're going to place those gently down into our hole here. Space them a little bit apart. And we're going to cover them up with our potting soil. Put a little bit of water on there, not too much, just a little bit. Swish it around to help them grow. For our kumquat seeds, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to make our little hole here in your potting soil. Take your 2 seeds and pick them up and put one there and there. They do look like pumpkin seeds. And then we're going to cover them up nicely with our potting soil. We don't want to jam it down in there. That would make it too tight. You want it to be aerated, and you want to have some, room for the water molecules to get down in there to help the seeds grow. And then for our yuzu, or our Japanese citrus tree, we want to put those in a little bit deeper. So let's make about, and if you have a cup, maybe 2 inches, a little hole in there that's a little bit deeper than we did for the other ones. And then we want to place our seeds down into our deeper hole there. You can dig with your fingernail if you'd like. And then we're going to cover those up. I'm going to bust this up a little bit so we don't have too many clumps. And then we're going to do the same thing that we did for our other 3 trees. And we're going to put some water. And then I'm going to move these to a nice bright windowsill in my office because we've studied photosynthesis, right? We need water, we need oxygen, we need sunlight. So and carbon dioxide. So it's important to you to talk to your plants every day because you exhale carbon dioxide, and that'll help them to be able to grow. And we will check in again on these seeds and give you an update on this video at a later time. If you would like to do this at home, please send us some pictures or send us some comments or something about what you did, or put it up for everybody to see so we can all kind of watch these seeds grow together. And we would like to thank you again for clicking on our video, and please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Just an additional idea, if you have some of these Ziploc baggies at home, they don't have to have the zipper on them, they could just be, regular Ziploc baggie. We can take our little plants that we put down into our plastic cups with our potting soil and our water and slide them in there, kind of like that. Maybe 3/4 of the way, zip them, leave a little bit of an open space here, and crunch them up, kind of. You can have a ready-made simulated greenhouse where we can have our oxygen coming in, our carbon dioxide coming in rather, our oxygen going out, and our sunlight sort of amplified down into the soil, so that will help our plants grow. Plus it helps to keep them a little warmer than it would if it got cold in your house or cold in the room that you had your plants in. So if you want to try that, that's a little something extra that you could add in.
Thanks, Miss Sinisi. All right, well, that wraps up everything for us here today on Education Station. We want to thank everyone who shared their awesome lessons, and we want to thank you for watching. We'll see you next time right here on Education Station.